Hey, free timers. Time freedom isn't the finish line. It's the starting point. In this episode, we'll talk about what comes next, how to use your freedom to connect, create, and live with intention. I'll introduce my Substack called A Free Timer's Notebook, where I explore what life looks like after freedom, how to fill your days with purpose, relationships, and joy. We'll reflect on season 1 and give a glimpse of what's ahead in season 2. You've built the foundation. Now it's time to live the life it makes possible. Let's get started and put a wrap on season 1. Welcome back to the Time Freedom Podcast, where you can learn how to rethink your work and your money to create a life you love right now. Join us for insights to help you find meaningful freedom so you can choose how and when and with whom you work for as long as you want. Here are your hosts, me, Brian Herriot, and Kirby Denison. Hello, and welcome to the 20th and final episode of Season 1 of the Time Freedom Podcast. I'm Brian Herriot, and I'm here with my co-host, Kirby Denison. Today, we're going to talk about a topic that I've called Time Freedom as a Launching Pad, which is, now that you have read the book, done the work, and gotten time freedom, what can you do now? That is our topic for today. It is represented in the conclusion or the epilogue of the book. There's a big story in the book that I'm not going to share. You're going to have to wait to read it, but I want to talk all around that story and give you all a sense for what kind of comes next. But first of all, Kirby is here. She hails from Colorado, but she's in Los Angeles this week. She is the founder of Kirby & Co., a company that provides a variety of coaching services and fractional COO services as well. And she's just been a joy to have as a co-host on this entire first season. And we were just saying before we started, this is a little bit bittersweet doing this last episode together. And I'll tell you, I've already been thinking, like, how can we carry through some of the fun stuff about the first season in the second season? So maybe we can talk about that a little bit later, even on the air.
Yes, I love it. And I'm with Brian, the person who got us all here with time freedom, and just a great concept and how we can reclaim our lives and just live life now and not 20 years from now, because God only knows what 20 years from now is. So
you never know. That's right.
You don't know. I mean, who knows 20 minutes from now? So hopefully we're still here, listening and recording. And so I'm excited to talk about how this can get us going. But first, Brian, what's your last little bit of info?
So we started this podcast when, I had mostly written the book, but I was still, working out the final kinks and, making significant changes even still through all of the different editing phases. But lately it's shifted and I'm not writing as much anymore. And so I wanted to change that because I've really enjoyed that whole process. So people suggested that I start a Substack. And so that's what I've done. I guess it used to be called a blog, right? But now it's a Substack. It's just it's basically I'm writing a blog. And so I'm, if you can find me, it's called A Free Timer's Notebook. And the address is my name, which is a little hard because of spelling, but Brian Herriot, BrianHerriot.substack. And what I'm writing about is a lot about what we're going to talk about today, which is, if the book is about what is time freedom and how do you get it, the Substack is my kind of short essays about what do you do then when you do have the time, which we'll talk more about here today in today's episode. But I've written three articles so far. I write one every couple of weeks. The first one I called it Time and Anxiety, and it's a story about when I would do road biking with a riding team and how I would get so anxious that I'd have a flat tire because I'm not really good at repairing them and everyone's there watching you. And how if you just have a little more time, there's all that stress goes away. I write one about time for reconnecting with important things and people in your life. And the one that time for reflection. Yeah, I can't remember what the third one was about, but it's just like, you just have, when you have a little bit more time and you have the confidence in your finances, you can focus on different, better, more important things in life. The main episode, the whole point of this whole episode, really.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'm not on Substack, so I'll have to go check it out and figure it out. So again, if you want to come along with Brian, It's brianherriot.substack.com. And then also, I mean, we'll be sharing more of the journey as we talked in other episodes as well, on all of our social media formats. And really in the next little bit, we'll be talking about how to take this to the next level, and leading up to the book launch.
Yes. How I wanted to introduce this topic was really about kind of telling you about the book writing process or how a book is constructed. And again, I have to hats off to AJ Harper, who taught me all of these things in terms of how you write a nonfiction book in a way that works for people. And so I think in the past episodes, we've talked about the importance of having a book that's doable and inclusive of people from different backgrounds and all those sorts of things. But what I wanted to talk about here, just to kick this conversation off, is what a reader expects kind of going into a book, and then how they feel once your book is finished, because that's an important journey that a reader goes through. And if you're going to write a solid book, you need to think about that journey that the reader is taking. And so the first concept that I want to tell you about is this thing called a page one desire. And what that means is the reader picks up the book, and on page one, they're expecting something, right? They want something. They have a need for something, and you need to. And the interesting thing is, what they think they need may not be what they need. Think about that for a second. You know, it's like, I think I gave the example in a previous episode, but it's like you think you want that promotion, but then you get it and you're like, oh God, no, that's not really what I wanted. And so if you had a good coach, a good like executive coach, they might help work that all out ahead of time so that you don't have to make that wrong decision. But the same thing happens in a book. So, you know, so as part of developing this book, you think, you know, what is the thing that somebody wants when they pick up my book? And what they want is more time in their life. That's really ultimately what it is. And so that's why you title a book the way that you title it. So people are like, oh, I want time freedom. This book can give me time freedom. That's my page one desire. The problem, the thing is, once you work through it and you get to the end, then you have the thing, right? So you have time freedom. Also, if the book doesn't deliver on its promise, it's not a good book. So that's a whole other topic, but you want to deliver on the book's promise. And then at the end is the conclusion, right? And this is an AJ specialty in my mind, that a conclusion could be many things. And what a lot of traditional publishers are expecting, and if you read a lot of nonfiction books, you will see a very short chapter that is a summary of what was talked about. What a terrible way, in my mind, now that I've learned the right way, to end a book. You go through this huge journey together, you achieve your goal, and then you summarize what you learned. Wah, wah, right? Totally boring. AJ teaches, and my book is written as a call to greatness, is the conclusion. So what you do at the end is, it's described as, you know, you start this journey, you travel up the mountain and you hit the top of the mountain, you've made it to the top. And then in the epilogue, in the conclusion, you're at the top of the mountain and you can see now all these other things that you couldn't see when you started the book. And that's what you want then next, right? And so you need to be called to greatness to find that next thing. And that's exactly what this is about now, is like, okay, we've achieved time freedom. Now what? And that is a way to really inspire a reader. And they close your book and they're like, dang, that was good, right? It wasn't just like a boring summary of what happened, but it's like, okay, now I know what I can really achieve. And I don't know, I just find that construction of a book, when I read a book like that, you complete it and you're like, I achieved what I wanted to achieve, and I'm inspired to do the next thing. It's pretty cool. Right. And that's why a great book just really sits so well with somebody.
Yeah. And I think what has been so eye-opening for me is that it is a journey, and the whole thought process of getting you to that point, like, and not just like you said, not just closing a book and you're like you crave more, you want more. Prior to working with you in this process, I was like, you know, people just write down and either you're good at it or you suck at it. Like,
yeah,
but there's so much strategy And it's no different than working with a business. So I don't know why I would be surprised by that, but I was. But it's true. I mean, there's just so much more that goes into it. And it is a beautiful journey. And the more that I talk to people around this, I don't know, like stage and phase and like doing the process, it is magical. And so the fact that you took so much care and making sure that your call to greatness was so good, and really promising on everything, I mean, that obviously that sets you apart from a lot of authors.
I hope so. I hope so. So what is it then, right? If we want to get into this, and I'm not giving anything away because you should still read the book, because you should want the page one desire, and you should want the call to greatness as well. I think that how do I best explain this? This is what happens. This is what I've noticed when people achieve time freedom. They are able to shed this concept of busyness, and where you always have something going on and you're always kind of dealing, right? And that busyness and dealing is kind of a mask. It allows you to not have to think about other maybe more important things because you're always dealing with the urgent thing. So when you get time freedom, you take off that mask and you're like, oh, I have no more excuses for not addressing the important things in life, right? And so then it's, well, what is important? What's the most important thing in life? And it's not a surprise. It's not rocket science. Like, there's all these books out there about at the end, people at the end of life, what do they look back on? It's not the career. It's not the money I made. It's the people. It's the people that I connected with. It's the love that I enjoyed, that I've given and received. And so, it's, and then how do you get it? You live with purpose. You live with intention. All of these things that we know about, there's books written on them, tons of books written on them. But what I've observed is that where I had struggled in my life is like, I wanted those things. I wanted a purpose-filled life, an intentional life. I wanted love and connection. But until you have time to think about it, you can't, right? So what I was trying to do was have a busy life of corporate success, blah, 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 and then also live with purpose. And it wasn't working for me. Personally, different people experience different things. What I realized is that what I needed and what I knew when I was writing this book, but I had to kind of wait to tell it at the end, is that there's that step in the middle, which is the time freedom step. Like, if you can get to that step, now you can actually see the other mountain, which is the love and connection. And so another way to say it is, guess what? It's not really time freedom that you want. Sorry. It's love and connection.
Jokes. Yeah.
Right. But I couldn't call the book Love and Connection Through Time Freedom because that's a dumb title and nobody would be like, wait, what? What is this book about? And so,
yeah.
Yeah,
and that makes sense. I think you hit it right on the head too. It's the intentionality behind it, because we do want all of those things and we just want freedom because we don't know what else to call it. And so when you get to that point, then you're like, you get to be intentional about it. You're not just, I don't know, not like going through the motions, I guess. Like, you get to be more intentional because you have the time.
Claire, because she's always good at seeing the other side of things, she said, so you do all this work, you get all your finances in order, you save and you redesign your work and you do all this work. And then at the end, you realize, oh, it's really not the money and all that stuff that I wanted. It's the connection with people. Why don't you just have connection with people now? Like, what do you need to wait for? And I'm like, you know what? It's true. It's absolutely true. And I know those people that don't make a ton of money, but they have decided that, you know what, that stuff isn't as important to me. I still need to work hard to get by, but I'm also going to dedicate a bunch of my life to having deep connecting relationships with people. And I'm jealous of those people, or I'm envious of those people because I couldn't do that, and I needed this interim step. So I think that her observation is 100% accurate. And I'm not just saying that because she's my wife. I believe it, but I also believe that only certain people can actually achieve it in that manner. So I still stand by the fact that I think it's just that much easier for those of us that aren't as good at it. Having time freedom gives you the time to think about those more important things.
Yeah, I would second that. And it goes back to, how many things we can focus on at once.
Yes. So in the book, I spend the epilogue talking about this, right? And finding connection and sharing love. And I tell a personal story related to this that I'm not going to share here. I want to save it for the book. But the idea is then for, the reader to kind of see that and go, hey, what are some things that I can be doing now that I have time to be doing it? And, examples are, now that you have a little more time, you see someone on the side of the road with their hood open, you can stop and help or, just assist. You can, commit to making dinner for your elderly neighbor across the street. This is actually something that my own family did when our older neighbor across the street's wife died. Like, we would make him dinner every week. Again, do you have to wait until you have achieved time freedom to do those things? No, but it's that much easier to do it, and you can do more of it. You can rekindle a relationship with a sibling that's kind of fallen by the wayside because you can go there and visit them in the town that they live in because you have the time to do it. These are the sorts of kind of small things. There's small things, there's big things that you can do to, find that connection and love. And that really is the ultimate purpose. And that's what time freedom helps you step off into.
Yeah. And that's really beautiful. And just being able to be, again, intentional behind it. And for me, you mentioned, you can do something as little as, taking somebody a meal. And for me right now, that could feel like a task. But when I have time freedom, it's just easier. And you get to, I guess, not be so selfish.
It is. I love how you said that. So that's the end. That's the end of season 1. I don't know if you've had a chance to reflect on this. I was thinking, like, what's been the most fun? I think kind of like, well, one thing is I've loved telling the stories from the book, but also just the kind of the happenings of our lives as they've taken place. But I also was realizing that as I look back through kind of our transcripts, is that there's a lot of stories that I haven't told, right? So one of the top 3 stories in the book is Theo sells a car. And we told that in an earlier episode. So you're going to have a chance to read that again. But there's other ones, and I'm going to read the names of the titles, and then you have to get the book in order to read the story. But the one is Friday Night in the ER. That's a good story. It's kind of the main story of the book. Routine dental surgery is related to Friday Night in the ER. Cowgirl Jessie is a story that when I read it for my friends, when I had first submitted to my publisher, I read it to my friends, I bawled my eyes out. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this must be a meaningful story to me, apparently. And then Seattle Christmas. That's another pretty good, interesting story. I want you so badly to get the book because I think it can really help you find time freedom, but hopefully it's kind of a little bit of an entertaining read along the way. What have you enjoyed the most, Kirby? I'm kind of curious.
Yeah. The whole process actually, at first I was so nervous to even start. And I was like, oh gosh, so we're going to do 20 episodes. And then I think we both even by the time we got to 10, we were like, holy cow, we're already halfway through. And now here we are recording episode 20. And just being able to have the conversation around some of these topics and share with our listeners and just go a little bit deeper in the concepts because, you can read them. Obviously, I've read them multiple times now, and we talk about it a lot more, but even going just a further step deeper in our podcast has been just really meaningful for me. And I know even different ways I'm looking at my business, our finances, all of that combined. And I actually was thinking in between our 2 episodes here, I think we started at the beginning of the summer recording. And so it was a little longer than I thought, but it's just gone so fast. And also catching up of what's been going on in our lives, because I'm sure if I go back, just even to what happened at the beginning of the summer.
Time stamped forever. You're going to listen to this 10 years from now and go, oh my gosh, remember that when that happened?
Yeah. And I think it's been fun to watch us grow from episode 1. If you've listened to episode 1 and you stuck with us all the way till now, or if you're just joining us, go listen. It's been a fun journey.
We've gotten better.
It's
been a journey. Nice.
It's fun.
Well, so what's next? We are wrapping this. If my math serves me right in my projections, this will wrap up later in December. And so I want to go enjoy your holidays. That's what we're going to do. Enjoy your holidays. We're going to come back probably in about 4 to 6 weeks after this episode airs. And so we're talking mid to late January, maybe late January, early February. And season 2 is going to look different. And I mentioned this at the top of the episode about how can we kind of keep some of the great things that have worked so well in episode 1. But season 2 is going to be focused on interviewing 2 types of people. And every now and then I'll get one that's both, which will be great. And that is free timers, people who are living this lifestyle in different ways. Because one of the things that I've noticed is that we need more models of this. And I think if I can share with you different ways of living like this, you can find one that's interesting to you and use it as a model. But then also, I'm going to be interviewing people that I write about in the book, other experts, whether it be in savings and investing or in entrepreneurship, that can help us to go even deeper into the concepts in the various chapters in the different chapters from the book and episodes from season 1. And it's going to be a different vibe, but I think a good one. And I think just another evolution of what we're trying to do here and bringing time freedom to all of you as listeners.
Yeah, I think the fun part is being able to see how we can implement it in so many different ways, because your life is so different than my life, even though we're ultimately at the same goal of the time freedoms. Just seeing how, like you said, it can be for somebody else that you can bring back home, or even just bits and pieces, make it a puzzle.
So we're going to we're going to commit to say we're going to do 20 of these in season 2. And that's 20 different people that we'll have a chance to speak with. We're going to kick off the season with Mike Michalowicz. He's the author of Profit First and other successful books. Probably one of the bigger name people that I know. We're going to try to bring you some awesome people, whether or not they're big names or not. Although I will put this out there as my last ask of you all at the end of season 1. If you know or have a connection to Oliver Berkman or Morgan Housel, please let me know, because I want to get them on perhaps to close out season 2. That would be pretty cool. So I'm going to put it out there in the hopes that we can make something like that happen. Do you have any last things that you want to say, Kirby, before we close out season 1?
Yeah, I just want to thank all of our listeners for coming on with us. And I am so excited for season 2.
Thank you. Me too. Yes, thank you so much. You've been so supportive. We just get such wonderful feedback. Thank you very much for everything. And we can't wait to see you in season 2. Have a great holiday season. We'll see you at the beginning of 2026.
Can hardly wait.